Atheist Antidote Show starts now.
MSNBC is a crack house for intravenous idiocy. This podcast is the common sense rehab. And now your leftist detox counselor, Brock Lawley.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brock Lawley. This is the Atheist Antidote Podcast. Thank you greatly for joining me. You know, I have a very vibrant, fertile, active, zesty, sexy online presence in a myriad of ways. There's a Facebook page that's always blowing up. There's a YouTube channel with hundreds of videos on and on and on and on and on. So I posted on my Facebook channel the other day a nice little status update smackdown against the open and fervent bigotry of the Westboro Baptist Church, quote-unquote church. I love how they call that a church. It's a gaggle. It's a gaggle of family members. It's intellectual inbreeding. It's a family reunion out in the Midwest. But they're always picketing funerals and behaving in ridiculous manner. And, you know, specifically targeting homosexuals with fierce and heated hatred. And I said what I thought was some clever, you know, smackdown refutation, you know, basically calling it out as bigotry. And sadly, there were a few, like two, and this is thousands of followers on Facebook, but two very radical and fringe, extreme Christians were very, very angry with me and lit me up on Facebook for, wait for it, comforting homosexuals. I mean, I'm getting it from the left and the right, which always tells you you must be doing something right, but not really the right. The fringe. It's an irony, isn't it, that the further you go to the left or the right, and you just pedal the metal off the Thelma and Louise cliff, be it the right or the left, you end up being in the same straitjacket place, which is just, you know, Insanityville. But that happened, and it got me thinking, you know, Christians need to be constantly calling out real hatred and real bigotry. Because real hatred and real bigotry exists. Oh, it definitely exists. Now, here's the problem. Because those words, bigot, homophobe, racist, whatever the case may be, because they're just thrown around for political fodder from the left, they're watered down. So the average person hears those things and they've been hollowed of meaning. But they exist. There are people on this planet that do actually hate people because of the melanin, pigment of their skin. There are people who truly do hate homosexuals. There are people who truly do harbor villainous hatred towards other people. Thankfully, they're a far cry from anything we had in the 50s or 60s, but they exist. And the left has hollowed and cheapened those terms so much that I actually think it's the conservative's duty to call it out when it actually truly does exist. Because all that has happened from this, you know, homophobe, xenophobe, you know, racist, bigot, you know, hate the poor, all they've done by just throwing these things around so cheaply for political points, all they've done is given cover to people who actually are bigots, people who actually do hate homosexuals, because people just roll their eyes when those terms are, you know, slipped off the tongue. One more damaging, you know, pierce in the side of the collective that the left has offered up to us by just rhetorically vomiting out these terms whenever they think they can get some sort of cheap political point. What they've actually done is they've harmed people who are actually victims of real bigotry. Here's the thing, you know, the left will call people like me a bigot, a homophobe all day long because I don't agree with the policy or the principles that they want to push forward, largely because it's a total train wreck. And in most cases destroys the very people they claim to want to help. So obviously anybody with common sense would oppose such nightmarish and childish policy. But that doesn't make somebody a bigot. No, you have to actually hate somebody or feel like you're superior to somebody, or, you know, the classic definitions of these words, the real definitions of these words. And of course, conservatives like myself and millions of others that get called these names all the time harbor none of those feelings, have none of those thoughts, and of course are not bigoted or hateful in any way. But there are people who are, so it's left to the conservative, the Christian, to call out people like the Westboro Baptist Church, call them out boldly. And you know, we need to do this because the fact that the Islamic religion is not doing this to their fringe, compartmentalized few is exactly why that religion is hijacked by those extremists. Because you will not find, you know, I've been all through the Middle East, you will not find so-called moderate Muslims calling out these extremist views. But that's not the case with Christianity. People like me call it out all the time. Call it all the time for being the hateful bigotry that it is. And ironically enough, it's liberals who are cheapening and providing camouflage and cover for real, actual bigotry. So once again, point of this podcast is it's left to us. Almost all the heavy lifting is left to common sense conservatives. Because the left is just off there waxing poetic, giving themselves self-aggrandizing back rubs that serve nobody any good, and they cheapen the lexicon, like in the case of racism and bigotry, which once again actually exists, and conservatives should call it out every chance they get. Thank you for listening to the Atheist Antidote Show.
Hey, Mark, I said be quiet for a second. Everybody, this is little Billy Willie Clinton. That's right, you know me, I'm up to no good. Don't tell him the libtard. Shh. But I just love the Atheist Antidote Show. I love that Brock Lawley. He's just fantastic. So why don't you head over to his Facebook page. He's got a bunch of great YouTube videos pushing back on all that nonsense I used to push from the bullet pulpit. That's right. Okay, sweetheart, go ahead, continue.
You are listening to the Atheist Antidote Show.